audio?
Prabhuji.
Okay. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Muna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Jaya Radha Gopinatha Radha Gopinatha Radhe Jaya Radha Shama Sundar Radha Shama Sundar Radhe Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Subhadramai Jaya Sudarshana Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Ananda Dev Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Ananda Dev Jaya Pancha Tattva Jaya Pancha Tattva Pancha Tattva Jaya Pancha Tattva Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev Naam Sangeet Vedna ki jai Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Krishna devotees. So today we'll be discussing Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, shloka 20 and 21. I'll let me share my screen. Devadas, can you hear my see my screen?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Presentation. Okay.
Yes, Prabhu, we can see.
Okay, so today's topic is about the topic is about we are having a picture of Ferris wheel. So we'll discuss about this, how it is relevant to today's shloka. So first, let us go through the shloka and then purport. So first shloka is 9.20. Traividyamam soma puta papa yatnerištva swargatim prartayante te punyamasadya surendra lokam ashna didivyan divideva bohan. Anybody like to repeat after me? Devotees want to try?
Yes, Prabhu. Traividyamam somapa bhuta papa yagnairistvā swargatim pratayante te punyam asadya surendra lokam ashnanti divyan divideva bhogan.
We'll repeat 2 more times. Traividyamam somapa buddha papa yatnerištva swargatim prartayante te punyamasadya surendra lokam ashna didivyan divideva bogan.
Traividyamam somapa bhuta papa yagnairistvā swargatim pratayante te punyam asadya surendra lokam ashnanti divyan divideva bhogan.
Traividyamam somapa buddha papa yatnerištva swargatim prartayante te punyamasadya surendra lokam ashna didivyan divideva bogan.
Traividyamam somapa bhuta papa yagnairistvā swargatim pratayante te punyam asadya surendra lokam ashnanti divyan divideva bhogan.
I'll read word to word meaning. Trividya, the knower of the three Vedas. Mam, me. Somapa, drinkers of Soma juice. Puta, purified. Papa, of sins. Yatne, with sacrifices. Ishtva, worshipping. Swagatim, passage to heaven. Prarthayande, pray for. They, punyam, pious. Asadhya, attaining. Sura Indra, of Indra. Lokam, the world. Ashnanti, enjoy. Divyan, celestial. Divi, in heaven. Deva Bhogan, the pleasures of the gods. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Those who study the Vedas and drink the Soma juice, seeking the heavenly planets, worship me indirectly. Purified of sinful reactions, they take birth on the pious heavenly planets of Indra, where they enjoy godly delights. Purport. The word Trividya refers to the three Vedas, Sama, Yajur, and Rig. A Brahmana who has studied these three Vedas is called a Trivedi. Anyone who is very much attached to the knowledge derived from these three Vedas is respected in the society. Unfortunately, there are many great scholars of Vedas who do not know the ultimate purport of studying them. Therefore, Krishna herein declares himself to be the ultimate goal for the Trivedis. Actual Trivedis take shelter under the lotus feet of Krishna and engage in pure devotional service to satisfy the Lord. Devotional service begins with the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and side by side trying to understand Krishna in truth. Unfortunately, those who are simply official students of the Vedas become more interested in offering sacrifices to the different demigods like Indra and Chandra. By such endeavor, the worshippers of different demigods are certainly purified of the contamination of the lower qualities of nature and are thereby elevated to higher planetary system or heavenly planets known as Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, etc. Once situated on those higher planetary system, one can satisfy his senses hundreds or thousands of times better than on this planet. So we'll move to the next sloka. 9.21. Te tvam bhuktva swargalogam vishalam shine punye martyalogam vishanti evam traidharma manuprapanna gada gadam kama kama labante. Sandro can repeat.
Yes, Prabhu. Te tam bhuktva swargalokam visalam kshine punya matyalokam visanti evam trayi dharmam anuprapanna gata gatam kama kama labante.
एतं भुक्त्वा स्वर्गलोकं विशालं क्षीणे पुण्ये मर्त्यलोकं विशन्ति एवं त्रैधर्ममनुप्रपन्ना गदा कामकामा लभन्ते
ते तं भुक्त्वा स्वर्गलोकं विशालं क्षिणे पुण्यमर्तलोकं विशन्ति एवं त्रयी धर्मम् अनुप्रपन्ना गतागतं कामकामा लभन्ते
एतं भुक्त्वा स्वर्गलोकं विशालं क्षीणे पुण्ये मर्त्यलोकं विशन्ति एवं त्रैधर्मम् अनुप्रपन्ना कामकामा लभन्ते
ते तं भुक्त्वा स्वर्गलोकं विशालं क्षिणे पुण्ये मर्त्यलोकं विशन्ति एवं त्रयी धर्मम् अनुप्रपन्ना गतागतं कामकामा लभन्ते
what word meaning they tam that bhuktva having enjoyed swargalokam heaven vishalam vast kshine being exhausted punye the results of their pious activities martyalokam to the mortal earth vishanti fall down evam thus trai of the three vedas dharmam doctrines anuprapanna following gatagatam death and birth kama desiring sense enjoyment labande attain. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasures and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, those who seek enjoyment by adhering to principles of the three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death. Purport. One who is promoted to the higher planetary system enjoys a longer duration of life and better facilities for sense enjoyment. Yet one is not allowed to stay there forever. One is again sent back to the earth upon finishing the resultant fruits of pious activities. He who has not attained perfection of knowledge, as indicated in Vedanta Sutra, Janmadeshyada, or in other words, he who fails to understand Krishna, the cause of all causes, becomes baffled about achieving the ultimate goal of life and thus subjected to the routine of being promoted to the higher planets and then again coming down as if situated on a Ferris wheel, thus, which sometimes goes up and sometimes goes down. The purport is that instead of being elevated to spiritual world from which there is no longer any possibility of coming down, one simply revolves in a cycle of birth and death on higher and lower planetary systems. One should better take to the spiritual world to enjoy the eternal life full of bliss and knowledge and never return to this miserable material existence. So we'll continue the discussion after the prayers. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददान्ति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखां विदांश हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पदे गोपेशा गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुदे देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये पाञ्चाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशधारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे राम राम हरे हरे मुगं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयिते यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनदारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्यमीश्वरम् हरे कृष्ण. I would like to welcome once again all devotees who have joined for the Sunday program. So, we will actually continue the discussion from the previous sessions. So today's topic is about it's one of the important topics to understand how the material world, how the material world, everything in material world actually is temporary. So that is essential theme, and the cyclic nature of the material existence. Right? So this is the essence of the today's topic. I'll again share my screen. Okay. Okay. So today's topic, as I mentioned, is about Ferris field. So I think most of us know are familiar with this Ferris field. This picture which is given here. So uh, so basically, what is the nature of the Ferris wheel? Is that sometimes we are below and sometimes we are above, right? So basically, we keep on going up and down, right, in a cycle. So essentially, the happiness or the positions in the material world, right, are also like this. So sometimes we are up and sometimes we are down. So we understand this from these two shlokas of Bhagavad Gita, based on the commentaries of our previous acharya. We'll try to understand these two shlokas, how it is so. So we discussed this shloka. So essentially, what it is saying is that. So I will just read again. Traividya mam somapa puta papa yatne rishtva swargadim prarthayande te punyamasa surendra logam ashna didivyan divideva bhogan. So here actually what is mentioned is that so the Trividya means the Trividya, right? So this Trividya actually is interpreted in two different ways. So here in this particular purport, Prabhupada has mentioned Trividya as the three Vedas. Okay, elsewhere, and Prabhupada in his lectures, he also mentioned the Trividya can also mean the three different aspects of which are mentioned in Vedas. The Vedas talk about the three different kandas, the Karma Kanda, the Jnana Kanda, and Upasana Kanda. So it could also mean the three different processes by the transcendentalist. So basically, either of the ways, based on both of them are based on Vedic scriptures, right? So based on these three Vedas, actually the people who are materialistically inclined or who are after fruitive activities, they actually they perform yajnas and drink the soma juice, which is the offering of the yajna, and become purified. Etnoi rishtva swargadim prap. So basically, by this process, they can attain the Swarga planet, higher planetary systems. Then after that, te punya masa de surendra logam ashnari divyan divideva bhogan. So in this heavenly planet of Indra, Surendra means Indra. Actually, it's a very vast place, and then there is unlimited enjoyment, which cannot be even imagined by the people of the earth, right? So like for example, how it is mentioned is that, see, somebody who is actually from a very remote village, who is poverty stricken, for him, if he goes to a well-developed country, right? I mean, he cannot imagine the facilities in a well-developed country, for example, United States, etc. So that is like unimaginable for them, right? So similarly, for the people of Earth, the happiness which is mentioned in the heavenly planets is kind of unimaginable. It's mentioned that it's 100,000 times more than the earthly planet. Okay, so they will enjoy in the spiritual higher Swargaloka for a very long period of time. Then after that, next sloka says, Te tambuktva swargalokam vishalam shine punye martyalokam vishanti evam traidharmam anuprapanna gada gadam kama kama labande. So what it's saying, Te tambuktva swargalokam vishalam. So after thus enjoying the heavenly planet, which is very vast, shine punye martyalokam vishanti. So when their punya is actually the pious credits are over, then Martyalogam Vishanti. Martyaloga means the planet of death. So Martya means Martya is one of the words for one of the synonyms for human being, right? So Martya means he who actually has death, right? So this doesn't mean that the people in the Swargaloka doesn't have death, but actually relatively the time span, the life duration is very very much longer, right? So almost like it's immortal, but actually it is not immortal. So we know, from the previous discussion that anybody who in the material world, right? Anybody who is in the material world, they are all mortals. Basically we can see on the right there are different planetary system, right? So the planetary system can be divided into three: the middle, the upper, and the lower. So the middle planet mainly, is the Burloga, which is consisting of the earthly planet. Then above that, Burloga, Swargaloga. So actually there are two ways. The upper planet itself, sometimes is divided into three: Burswa, no, we say, right? So Burloga and Swargaloga. So Swargaloga actually is considered as a heavenly planetary system, and below there are actually lower planets, like Atala, Vidala, Sudala, Taladala, Rasadala, Patala, right? Like that it goes. So so basically, why do we call it a Ferris wheel? Is because sometimes, sometimes the living entity, right, after performing various pious activities, he actually is elevated to higher planetary system, like Swargaloga, or even other higher upper Janaloga, Makarloga, Tapaloga, etc. Also is possible based on, like it's mentioned that somebody can perform celibacy for, so many lifetimes, then they may be elevated to like Janaloga or Tapaloga. So so based on the activities which are prescribed, you can elevate yourself to a higher planetary system. And similarly, when somebody actually performs activities which are which are sinful, or no, or when they are pious activities, or when they are based on their karma, sometimes they actually go to the lower planetary system also: Atala, Vidala, Sutala, Rasadala, Taladala, and Padala. So the lower planetary system are not necessarily hellish planets. Actually, the hellish planet is below all these seven planets which are there. The lower planetary system is known as Bila Surga. There also there is a lot of enjoyment possible. Okay, but the kind of enjoyment is not. So basically, they are not devatas. So whoever is residing in the heavenly planets, they are called devatas. So devata means whoever is a devotee of Lord. No, they are known as devata. And asura actually is the people who are after sense enjoyment, and who actually doesn't necessarily worship the supreme Lord. So they also sometimes, based on their karmic reactions, get opportunity to enjoy in the lower planetary system. So but nevertheless, basically it is mentioned that Abrahma Bhuvana Loga Punaravartino Arjuna Mahamapetitu Kaundeya Punarjanmana Vidyade. So Abrahma Bhuvana Loga. So the topmost planet, is known as Satyaloga or Brahmaloga, where actually Lord Brahmaji is there. So Abrahma Bhuvana Loga. So even if you go to the topmost planet of Lord Brahma, where actually the life is still much longer than, than of planet of Indra. So in Indra's lifetime is the period of one Manu, one Manvantara. But actually there are 14 Manus in one day of Brahma, right? So actually the Brahma's lifetime is actually, very long, right? So Indra's period is like some 300 million years, and Brahma's period is some 300 trillion years. So like these are like, unimaginable for us, but nevertheless there is a beginning and end to everything, right? And all these things, the Brahma's life, which is 311 trillion years, is just one breath of Mahavishnu. The Mahavishnu we can see on the bottom, right? So this is the Garbhodakasha Vishnu, which is lying in the Garbhodaka, within the universe. And there is another Vishnu which is outside the universe, which is who is not the Mahavishnu. So when Mahavishnu, it is mentioned that when Mahavishnu is breathing out, from every pore in his body, one universe is coming out, right? And when he inhales, right, all these universes which came out will again enter back into the body of Mahavishnu. Or Mahavishnu is also called the Karanodakasha Vishnu. He is the cause, cause of other Vishnus. Like he is the cause, he rises in the causal ocean. So basically, Brahma's life, which is so like 311 trillion years, is just one breath of Mahavishnu. So everything is kind of a relative, relative measurements. But the thing is that Prabhupada used to give the example, like, in a jail, if you go to a jail, there can be different kinds of sections. Like there may be like first class jail, or sometimes these economic offenders, they are kept in a different jail where actually there are more facilities. They may have a television, or they may get the newspaper, and then different food they can bring from food from home, etc. So basically there can be like first class prison, second class prison, third class prison. But essentially, whether it is first class, second class, or third class, a prison is always a prison, right? Because you don't have a freedom. So similarly in the material world, sometimes the measurement of enjoyment, level of enjoyment can be different. In earthly planet it can be less. It can in Swargaloka it can be more. But nevertheless, everybody in the material world, right? They are actually bound by the three modes of material nature, which are Sattva-guna, Rajoguna, and Tamoguna. So these modes are like shackles, like chains, which are binding the living entity to the material world. So how it is so? Because it is mentioned that a living entity, a jiva, actually, which all of us are jivas, we actually we are forgetting our original identity. We everybody thinks, that I am so and so person, right? If somebody asks us, who are you? We will say that, okay, this is my name, and this is my family name, and I am my profession, no, I'm so and so, like I'm working as so and no, this is my, like we identify like all our material no designations, right? But actually this is not our true identity. No, beyond this, this material identity is very temporary, right? In you, we saw that, no, like how what you call magnificent are the lifetimes of Indra, Brahma, etc. But for from their perspective, like a human being's life is no like just like a glimpse, no, like by the time they opened eyes and closed, Brahmaji, no, like so many generations would have finished in that time. So but never, so our identities which no we are thinking is very long, right? And then we work so much hard to make our life very comfortable, and no, and also to try to make our future generations secure, right? Everything actually is very very flickering, no? It's very small, because we think that okay, no, this apartment which I'm owning is my, and then I will have it for perpetually. After that, my children will enjoy. Like that, we think, right? And then nothing is going to happen. But actually, these are all very temporary things. We know that, no, like, just like some calamities. No, if there's an earthquake, then everything is kind of destroyed. So basically, the living entity is not knowing his original identity. He is covered, no, by as soon as he enters his material realm, living entity's original knowledge, no, is a covered, and he is, that is a false ego, right? By the false ego, he thinks that he is his body, but whereas actually we are not the body, we are the soul, right? So this way, all the living entities in the material world are actually bound by the three modes of material nature, right? So wherever we are in the material mode, so as long as we are under the influence of the material energy, under the modes of influence, and think identify with our body, we can understand that we are in the material jail, right? Because see, this actually the living entity is free. No, its original nature of living entity is uh, Sachidananda, right? Anandamaya Abhyasa, right? So basically, it is living entity's nature is to become enjoy, is to enjoy, to be happy. But in the material world, the happiness is always covered, no, always frustrated. Actually, there is no real happiness. It's only artificial happiness. This is also because it is mentioned that the material world is just a reflection of the spiritual world. Just like just like when we observe a lake, or no, a very clear and calm lake, and then if you see the tree which is standing on the shore on the other side, we see the reflection of the tree in the lake, right? So so actually the tree is having a lot of fruits, flowers, and it's very enjoyable, the tree. But actually if you try to enjoy the tree from the lake, from the reflection, right, we will never be successful, right? So similarly, our attempt to enjoy the material world is compared to this. In Bhagavad Gita, there is a shloka which says, Urdha Mula Madashaga Ashwatam Praguravayam Chandamsi Asya Parmani Yastam Vedasa Vedavet. So basically, Urdha Mulam Adashaga, right? So which says that it's a tree which is up in the opposite direction, right? Urdha Mulam Adashaga. So the tree, the root is going upwards and the branches are going downwards. So this is actually reflection of the real tree. There's a real tree which is the spiritual world. So the material world, we actually artificially try to enjoy, right? So so this way, whether we go to the essence of this shloka, the topic is that people who are intelligent, right, they will not try to upgrade from a third class jail to second class jail, or from second class jail to first class jail. No, what actually an intelligent person would do will be, he'll be try to get out of the jail itself completely, right? That's an intelligent person. But first of all, we should know that there is a place outside the jail. So how do we know? Normally when we are under the influence of material energy, we do not have this knowledge. No, we think that I am this body and everything related to my body is all in all, and no, and we work hard to make make the body happy and the people who are connected with us happy, because we don't have the higher knowledge. No, we don't know real identity. So this way, the living entity actually is continuously rotating in the material world, sometimes going up and sometimes going down. So that is the essence of this particular shloka. Okay, so how the living entity, by performing the pious activity, right? How he is going to higher planetary system, and after enjoying there for a long time, when pious credits are over, again he is falling down back to the earthly planet, right? This way it keeps on rotating. Okay, so this is a very small thing. Like just to, I already discussed about it. So here the time scale is given. So we can see that Manvantara is there, right? So one Manvantara is actually the time of Indra. So Indra is actually a post. No, like Brahma is also a post. Like Varuna, Chandra, they are all post. Just like we say, Prime Minister is there, President is there, like that. So and then different souls, no, jivas actually get this post. No, when the when one Manu's period is over. Like Brahma's life is after Brahma's day, like another Brahma will come. That is very long. But after every Manu's period, So the every Manu, like we have that Vaivasudha Manu, like the different Manus are there. So for a particular Manu's period, in a particular demigods, set of demigods will take the place, like particular Indra will come. So this period is like around 306 million years, right? And then like that there are other time scales, I think, which is not right now, it is not relevant to the discussion, but we just want to mention that Brahma's life is very long. So and similarly Lord Indra's life is very long, compared to the living the earthly planet. Okay, so now we'll discuss a little bit about the Vedas, because generally this topic, sometimes nowadays it's very less actually, but many people know today's world who are so-called spiritualists, they will tell that, okay, no, I'm learning the Veda, no, I'm going for Veda pardon, like that actually. So many times, people doesn't exactly understand what exactly is Veda, or what is the scope of Veda, what is the purpose of Veda. So this is not very clear. So we'll try to understand a little bit from our acharyas what we understood, right? And also based on what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, we'll try to understand the. So as we mentioned, right, the Vedas consist of three important sections, which are known as Karma Ganda, Jnana Ganda, and Upasana Ganda. So these are the three Trividya which is mentioned. So Karma Ganda is actually fruitive activities, which actually, for example, what we mentioned in the previous sloka. So this is mostly Karma Ganda. So the Vedas actually in this Karma Ganda is like one of the major sections in Vedas, where it gives information on how to be material, how to have a happy life in this material world. So actually Vedas are generally considered like manuals. We discussed earlier many times. So basically, if you consider the material world like a machinery, right? One way it is a machinery only, like basically everything is put into place. I know everything is operating as per certain rules and regulations, with a very high precision. Everything is working. And then there is an engineer who is Lord Brahma for this universe, and Brahma actually engineers the universe based on the power from Vishnu, right, or the Supreme Lord. He actually is kind of an engineer for the material world. So, but nevertheless, it's like a machine, or a machinery which is put into place, right? So whenever there's a machine, we typically have a manual, right? The manual, for example, if you buy a refrigerator, you get a manual, or you buy a washing machine, you'll get a manual. So the manual will explain how to operate this machine, and then what are the different do's and don'ts, right? What you should do, what you should not do, etc., etc., like how to get the best result, etc. So similarly, the Vedic knowledge. So whenever the Lord created a material world, He also gave the knowledge, by which actually, they can how to live in this place comfortably, and also how you can get out of this place. But the knowledge of how to get out of the place is actually kind of a little hidden. It's not very easily accessible. Basically, most of the sections, are actually dealing with how actually you can become happy in this material world. So the Karmaganda mostly talks about this information. What are the different kind of yagyas we can do? What are the different pious activity that you can perform? From that perspective. So most of the people who are so-called pious people, we see, right, some remnants which are remaining from the Vedic time. You can see in some families, people, etc. So they are most of the time they are actually Karmagandis. They will talk about various dharmic things. Like, okay, I should do like this. We should do charity. All these activities. And they may not be necessarily knowing what are the results, because just because of the lineage and heritage, they may be doing it. But essentially, the purpose was to attain fruitive results, like going to higher planetary system, etc. So one of the things is mentioned, like for example, performing an Ashwamedha Yagya. The kings used to do that. So somebody who performs 100 Ashwamedha Yagya successfully, actually he can become the next Indra. So we know the story of Bali Maharaj, right? When he tries to do the 100th one, Indra actually tries to prevent it, the completion of the Yagya, by sending Vamandev, who is actually who is known as Upendra, brother of Indra, right? So and then that that particular 100, they will try to create a obstacle there. So basically, so like that, there are different things which are mentioned, by which actually we can attain different results. So the Karma Ganda, right? Then is the Jnana Ganda, which actually is talking about, is mostly about the empirical philosophical speculation. Basically, the people who are about knowledge, they are going behind the knowledge. How can they mostly talk about different philosophies? They try to speculate, they try to debate. So they are more intellectually oriented people. They are actually next higher level. So Karmaganda mostly we can see that they are at a material or bodily platform, and Jnanaganda is little on the mental platform. They try to do they are more intellectual, but they don't have any attachment to the Lord, or they may even think that Lord is actually energy or Lord is light. So their aim is finally to merge into the Brahman, or become liberated. So they know about liberation, but only the impersonal liberation. And Upasana Kanda is also necessarily not about devotional service, pure devotional service. Mostly Upasana Kanda talks about demigod worship. right? How to please different demigods and how to attain various results. Like how, why we should, like by worshipping Lord Shiva, you may get certain things, like you may get a good husband. By worshiping Indra, you may get like vitality. Worshipping sun, you may be freed of disease, etc., etc. Like that, there are different sections which I mentioned. Okay, so there is the devotion to the Supreme Lord, right? That actually is kind of, it is very difficult to find in Vedas, or it is there but it is hidden. It's not very openly mentioned because that is the most confidential knowledge of Vedas. Okay, so basically one of the shlokas, no, this is actually I think from Padma Puran, but it's quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela, where actually Lord Shiva says to Parvati, Aradhananam Sarvesham Vishnu Aradhanam Param, right? So basically in that shloka, the translation goes like this: My dear Devi, although the Vedas recommend worship of demigods, the worship of Lord Vishnu is topmost. So basically, from this statement we can understand that most of the time the Upasana Kanta is talking about worship of demigods. Okay, so now we come to, for us, from practical perspective, right? Whatever, whoever from our acharyas, from our parampara, and also other authorized paramparas, we know that what are the most important scriptures that actually we should understand or try to learn, because Vedas, Vedas are extremely vast, right? Veda just means knowledge, and then there are various scriptures which comes under the Vedic fold. Like for example, Upanishads are there, Puranas are there. Then actually, there are Brahmanas, Aranyakas. Like that, there are so many things actually, which takes many lifetimes to read. And that, there also, it's like a forest. Like you are looking for some for special fruit or some remedy, but you need to search through the entire forest to find out. So unless until you have a proper guide or a spiritual master, you will always be lost in that forest. So that's why acharyas, we have to depend on acharyas, and they have given the essence what we have to understand. So Bhagavad Gita is actually considered as the essence of all Vedic scriptures. Actually, it is written by, like, Gita Mahatmya by Adi Shankara, Shankaracharya. It is mentioned like this, that Sarvobhanishado Gavo Dugdha Gopala Nandana Partho Vatsa Sudhir Bhokta Dugdam Gidamridam Mahat. So what it is saying is that Sarvobhanishado Gavo. So Upanishads are considered as one of the most important angas of Vedas. Now, if you consider all the Upanishads as a cow, Sarvobhanishado Gavo Dugdha Gopala Nandana. So Gopala Nandana, son of Nanda Maharaj, who is Rajendra Krishna, who he is the cowherd boy, who is milking this cow, which is Upanishads. So the Krishna in the form of a cowherd boy is milking all the Upanishads, or you can say all the Vedas. Then who is the calf? Who is drinking this milk? Is Partho Vatsa Sudhir Bhokta. So Partha or Arjuna is actually drinking this. Dugdam Gita Amritam Mahat. So this Gita is like Amrit. And this Dugdam Gita Amritam Mahat. So the essence of all the Vedic scriptures, right? The cream of the milk, for example, so that actually is Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavad Gita is containing the essence that has to be understood by reading all the Vedas. Okay, as we mentioned, if you just attempt to read Veda, try to learn all the Vedas without a proper guidance, it will be just like letting loose into a dark forest. You will definitely be lost. But Gita actually is having the essence of everything. Okay, so from Gita, what Bhagavad Gita is saying, about, for example, Swarga, the pleasures in Swarga. So one of the shlokas we can, try to search for a few shlokas which is talking about Vedas in Bhagavad Gita. So one of the shlokas we will look in. I'll just try to go to that. So this is from second chapter, 42 and 43. Yamimam pushpidam vajam pravadanti avipaschita vedavada ratapartha nanyadastidvadina Kamatmana Swargapara Janma Karma Phalapradam Kriya Vishesham Bahulam Bhogaishwarya Gadim Prati. What it says? Men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, result in good birth, power, and so forth. Being desirous of sense gratification and opulent life, they say that there is nothing more than this. So basically, we have to understand that just because somebody is learning Veda, or trying to understand Veda, that doesn't mean that he has understood the real truth. So that's what Prabhupada is also saying. There are so-called like Chaturvedis, Trivedis, Dvivedis, like these people are supposed to be learned in Vedic scriptures. Somebody is Chaturvedi is supposed to know the four Vedas. Somebody is Trivedi, supposed to know three Vedas, like that. But essentially, if you ask the so-called learned Vedic scholars, what is the ultimate purpose of life? Or what is the ultimate aim of life? Or what is your identity? We can just observe their life, and see, is it matching their learning? Most of the time we see that is not, right? So if suppose somebody has understood the ultimate purpose of the life, then accordingly their lifestyle and then behavior has to change, right? So that we don't see. So here we can see even in the Vedic scriptures, that's what Krishna is directly saying, is that so people are so-called scholars, are so-called what I call people who are very proud of their birth, etc. So-called Brahmanas, right? They actually are attached to the flowery words of Vedas, which actually recommends various fruitive activities. So this is one important point we have to understand. Just because somebody is studying Veda or Vedic knowledge he is having, doesn't mean that he actually is on the right path necessarily. That may not be the case always. So this is one example. Uh, then next another one is Krishna is saying to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, second chapter, after few slokas, this verse comes. Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nistraigunyo Bhavarjuna Nirdvando Nitya Sattvasto Niryoga Kshema Matmavan. What it means is that again Krishna is saying this Veda, Traigunya Vishaya Veda. What is the Vishaya of Veda? Is Traigunya. The Vedas actually mostly talk about the three gunas, which is Sattuguna, Rajoguna, and Tamoguna. And what Arjuna is asking, Krishna is asking Arjuna, Nistraigunyo Bhava Arjuna. So you actually rise above the three modes. So Vedas still talking, many of the Vedic parts, sections of Vedas is again talking about the three gunas, like Sattuguna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna. But actually, ultimately, what is the purpose? See, even if you elevate to Sattuguna, that is no guarantee that you actually get out of this jail, because coming to the Sattva is actually definitely better than Rajoguna, and Rajoguna is definitely better than Tamoguna. That is for sure. But just coming to the Sattva will not actually qualify you to get out of the cycle of birth and death. Okay, Triguna, if you become a like nice, if you are situated in the Sattva nicely, you can become, you actually you get in a lot of punya, and again you can become go to the higher planetary system. Okay, so there is something called Shuddha Sattva, which is actually beyond, which is known as transcendental. See, anything which is in the three modes, right? Whether it is Sattva Rajoguna, or Tamoguna, they are actually still on the material platform. And what is transcendental? Transcendental means that is above the three modes, right? So above the three mode is called Shuddha Sattva, which actually is related to Bhakti Yoga or pure devotional service. Right. So what Arjuna is Krishna is saying that even the Vedas Vishaya, most of the time Vedas is talking about the three gunas. Traigunya Vishaya Veda, Nistraigunyo Bhavarjuna. Nirdvando Nitya Sattvasto Niryoga Kshema Atman. Right. So this sloka, so like that we can see some references to understand that the general understanding of Vedas, or what actually Vedas, most of the time what Vedas are talking about in general. Okay, but we have to understand what is the ultimate purpose of Vedas, right? Why we should read Vedas, or what is the ultimate conclusion that we have to reach by reading the Vedas. So that's what we'll try to find. Okay, so in this chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter, is called Yoga of the Supreme. So this shloka we discussed a little bit. This shloka gives some hint. What it says is that Sri Bhagavan Vaja Urdhva Moolam Madashagam Ashwatam Prahuravyayam Chandamsi Yasya Parnani Yastam Vedasa Vedavid. So who is the knower of Veda? No, that's what is mentioned here. So this is this is an indirect indication. This is the first shloka, but in 15:15 we see the exact final, or the final conclusion of what is the purpose of knowing Vedas. So this is giving a hint. What it is saying is that the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is said that there is an imperishable banyan tree that has its root upwards and the branches down, and whose leaves are the Vedic hymns. One who knows this tree is knower of Vedas. So one of the first steps in knowing Veda, is not necessarily to find out how do I enjoy, right? How do I go to higher planet? That is not the most important step. So the real first step in Vedic knowledge is to understand the material world in relation to the spiritual world, right? So we should first of all understand that there is something beyond this material world, because all the so-called Vedic scholars, they most of their knowledge is limited to the material realm only. So one who start understanding that this Vedic, so the material world is a reflection of spiritual world. There is something which is reality, and material world is kind of a reflection. So when you start understanding that there is a spiritual world, which actually is beyond the material world, right? So that then that is the first step in understanding the Vedic knowledge, right? So this is the beginning. So in 15:15, actually we understand the real conclusion. So Krishna himself is directly saying this, that Sarvasya chaham hridisannivishto mattas smritirthanam apohanam cha Vedesha sarver ahameva vidyo Vedantakrit Veda Videkachaham. So the second part is more important in this context. The first part is saying that I am situated in everybody's heart. Sarvasya chaham hridisannivishto. Hridi means heart, right? I am situated in everybody's heart. Mattas smritirthanam apohanam cha. So Smriti means remembrance, Gnanam knowledge, and Apohanam forgetfulness. So all these things are coming from me. So the Lord is situated in everybody's heart as Paramatma, and He actually is giving us the knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. So that is one part. But what is related to current context is Vedescha Sarver Aham Eva Vedyo Vedantakrit Veda Videha Chaham. So Vedesha Sarver Aham Eva Vedyo. What is Vedya means to be understood, right? And Vedesha Sarver. From all the Vedas, I am to be understood. Okay. And Vedantakrit Veda Videha Chaham. I am the compiler of the Vedas. And if anybody knows the Veda fully, I am the only person who knows the Veda. So the most important thing what you understand from this is that what is the purpose of knowing all the Vedas? So Vedas is so vast. No, we saw that so many different branches, so many different parts, so many sections, etc., etc. Ultimately, what is the real purpose? What is the final conclusion that we have to come understand from Veda? Is to understand the Supreme Lord, no, who is Krishna, right? So if somebody studies all the Vedic scriptures for many lifetimes and he could not come to the conclusion that Krishna is the source of everything, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then actually all his Vedic study, all his effort is actually all all in vain. But on the contrary, if somebody by mercy of another spiritual master or by somehow or other he comes to the conclusion even without reading Veda that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and he accepts it, then actually he is much more elevated. No, he has understood the conclusion of Vedas. So this is the essence actually that we have to understand. So it is not necessary that we have to read all these Vedic scriptures. If you are able to accept the conclusion and understand the conclusion that Vedesha Sarve Raham Vedo, Krishna, Lord Krishna is directly telling that I am to be known from all the Vedas. Right? If that we accept and know, and then we are able to understand that conclusion, then we are actually we can tell that we are no Chaturvedi or no, we are more than a Chaturvedi. We understood everything. Right. So this is what Lord is directly telling. Okay, we also see in Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma is saying something similar. Okay, he says Advaidam Achyudam Anadim Ananta Rupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam Cha Vedeshu Durlabam Adurlabam Atma Bhakto Govindamati Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So this point actually what it is saying is that, so of course Brahmaji starts in the start one of the slokas in the beginning, says that Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadi Radir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. So he actually establishes in the beginning itself that Ishvara Parama Krishna, right? Of all the Ishwaras, Ishvara is a controller. No, there are different Ishwaras. Everybody is a small Ishvara. No, like if, for example, a husband is a Ishvara in his house. No, he is controlling the family, right? Sometimes no, a child is a Ishvara. No, he control the family, his parents, whatever. So whoever is, everybody has a controlling propensity, right? So everybody is controlling is a Ishvara. But of all the Ishwaras, Ishvara Parama Krishna, who is the supreme Ishvara, who is the controller of all other Ishwaras, Ishvara Parama is Krishna. His name is Krishna, and he is having a Sachidananda Vigraha. He has a spiritual body, right? Sachit, considering of Satchitananda, Sachidananda Vigraha, Anadi Radir Govinda. So there is no beginning or end for the supreme person, right? And his name is Govinda. He actually he is one who gives pleasures to the cows and to the senses. Isha Anadi Radir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. He is the cause of all the causes. If you keep analyzing, no, like what is the cause for this, what is the cause for that, and it go like in a chain, finally you have to come to a point beyond which there is no further cause, right? So that original cause actually is Krishna. Like this, Brahmaji has concluded. We have seen that no, Brahma is the engineer of the universe, and he is the first living entity in the universe. So there cannot be anybody who is more knowledgeable than Lord Brahma, because that Vedic knowledge is first imparted to Lord Brahma in his heart. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kave. No? Like that, the Lord actually imparts the Vedic knowledge to Lord Brahma as first, right? So Brahmaji knows the truth better than anybody else. So Brahmaji is saying that Supreme Lord is Krishna. That is one part. And here he is saying that Vedeshu Durlabam. So we are seeing, no, like somebody may ask question, right? Why in Vedas, no, like Krishna is not very frequently mentioned, or why it is difficult to understand Krishna, no, by reading Vedas, right? Why? Because Brahmaji is saying that Vedeshu Durlabham, he is Durlabha, no, he is not easily attainable or available in the Vedas, Vedeshu Durlabham, but Adurlabham Atma Bhakto, but he is easily accessible to his confidential devotees. So that is a secret actually, though actually says that the most confidential knowledge, Manmana Bhavamat Bhakto Madhyajivam Namaskuru, we say, right? So this is the most confidential knowledge. Actually, the confidential knowledge is a public information. Everybody can see it. But even though public may read it, it is only revealed to Atma Bhakta. Only Atma Bhakta can understand the essence. So the Vedic, so the actually the topmost knowledge in the Vedic scriptures, right, is actually about bhakti, Shuddha Bhakti. We have different things, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga, right? It's a yoga ladder. So, so the topmost actually, the Acharya says that the topmost of all the knowledge is actually Bhakti. So that is the ultimate conclusion, right? So that because of this reason, the So, and the Lord actually, Lord is, it is told that the Lord will reveal only whenever, he wishes to reveal to somebody else, right? In a sense, nobody can force the Lord to reveal himself, right? Whenever the Lord is pleased, he automatically reveals himself. And he takes pleasure in revealing himself only to his most confidential devotees, who are actually, completely dedicated, who are completely pure. So such devotees, the Lord actually reveals himself. So though, though somebody may read Veda, the Lord actually, this bhakti or the confidential knowledge is not always easily understood by the people or the so-called scholars, right? They are only understood by the the pure devotees of the Lord. So Vedeshu Durlabham Adurlabham Atma Bhakto, right? So like that actually. So we also see that, no, like there's a conversation in Srimad Bhagavatam that after writing the Vedic scriptures, right, Vyasdev was not happy, right? He was still feeling something uneasy. Okay, no, he was not feeling happy. So then Narad Muni comes and asks, no, what is the reason for this? And then there's a conversation. So in that actually, Narad Muni will actually kind of a little bit criticize or chastise Vyasdev, saying that basically initially, when before writing Srimad Bhagavatam, so Vyasdev, like Narad Muni says that, no, you have described all the different activities, no, all this karma ganda, other things in the Vedic scriptures, but you have not talked about the confidential topics about the Supreme Lord. No, enough. You have not enough glorified the Supreme Lord in the scriptures, right? So that is the reason of despondency. So from this we can understand that. Then after that, Vyasdev, compiles, Srimad Bhagavatam. So this indicates that, this is the topmost thing actually. No, it is the most confidential thing, no, and which actually, Vyasdev actually writes in the end, right? And even in Bhagavatam also, unless until you are a pure devotee, right, still you may not actually understand the inner secrets of Bhagavatam. In Bhagavatam, in devotional service, in bhakti, there are different rasas. Like there is Shanda rasa, Sakya rasa, Vatsalya, Madhurya, like that there are different rasas. So, for example, topmost is considered as Madhurya rasa. So somebody who's actually, reading Bhagavatam without a proper parampara, without a proper spiritual master, he cannot understand or get into the details, for example, of, of Madhurya Rasa. You will not understand it. You may just read, okay, there are many stories are there, like, okay, different life experiences are there, like that somebody may think. So to give access, to gain access to the deep secrets of the Vedas, or of Srimad Bhagavatam, we need a bona fide spiritual master, right, our guru. And by their mercy and by Lord's mercy, the Lord's mercy comes through the spiritual master. And without the mercy of the Supreme Lord and the spiritual master, these secrets, like, we may have a box, like, or a safe, but we don't have the key, sorry, or the lock, the number, right, to open it. So it's like this actually. So the point is that, so the bhakti is actually the topmost, in the yoga ladder. It's the topmost that we can achieve by reading all the scriptures, and then that is the most confidential information. And by pleasing the spiritual master and other Vaishnavas, we can actually understand it. I think we are running out of time, so I'll just wind up with a small story. I think most of you may be knowing this story. It's about Lord Indra. So we discussed about Lord Indra, like, now. So once actually it so happened. So as we mentioned, right, in the Swargaloka, the the facilities for enjoyment are like unlimited. So most of the time, the denizens, they call the denizens of heaven, they are actually, always, doing various sense gratificatory activities. So it is described in Bhagavatam, right, that actually the um, basically, the landscapes, they're all very beautiful. The lakes are filled with very, blossoming lotus. Even all the people, right, there is no bad smell, like all the people are like, they have fragrance of lotus. So everything is very, very conducive, and then they don't have tiredness, right? They will always remain like very young. So there are so many different facilities, there are different airplanes, like, so many things are there. And then, so Lord Indra also, like, he's also most of the time enjoying, in his court. And once in such a time, his spiritual master Brihaspati will come, and no, Indra actually doesn't get up actually. He was so engrossed in that no, he will not pay respect. And because of this, Brihaspati will curse Indra, to become a hog, because you are so much attached to sense gratification at a lower level. You become a hog in the earth, and Indra actually falls down to earth, right? So and then Indra become a hog, right? So as soon as, by nature of the material world, right, actually it's very difficult for anybody to escape from the clutches of Maya, right? Maya Devi, who is the superintendent of the material world, who controls all the modes of material nature, who covers the living entities in the intelligence. So Indra also becomes covered. No, Indra actually now convinced that he is a pig or a hog, right? And then Indra, like, slowly, he actually gets a family, like he has a wife, he has children, and he starts a very nice life, and he's always enjoying in the filth, he like eating all the dirty things, and all the time, he's in the mud and slush like that. No, Indra is spending time, and he's very very comfortable and very happy. So then actually after some time, the people of heaven, I mean, they are feeling the time is over, the curse period is over, but still Indra is not returning. So they were worried that who will take care of the thing. So then Brahmaji, will come. There are actually two versions. Like one they say Brahmaji, some others say Indra, sorry, Narada. But I think most of the time it's mentioned Brahmaji. Brahmaji actually comes down to the earth, and, and then request Indra to come back. He'll tell him that no, you are actually, you are not supposed to like be in such a bad place. No, you are the king of Indra, sorry, king of heaven. So you have a lot of facilities and responsibilities are waiting you. Please come back. So Indra will say, who are you? No, I don't know you. Who are you? What you're talking about? No, I am completely happy here. No, I have so much of responsibilities. No, like I have small children now. No, I have to take care of their, like I have to educate them. No, like I have to think about the future. No, like I'm completely happy with my family. Like I can't leave all these things and come like that. So, basically, this story, it actually gives an idea that every living entity, in whatever conditions or whatever body they got, they are actually very happy in that condition. We may think that okay, the pig is suffering, but so the Indra, right, he is such a elevated personality, but no, after becoming a hog, he is completely happy in that particular environment, right, and then he's not ready to go. And finally Brahma has to do some different tricks to take him. Like there are different versions actually. Like some version it says no, he actually removes all his children, wife, etc., and then forces him to go back. And then once he gets the Indra's body, then actually he realizes that what condition he was, right. No, he was such a pitiable condition he was living. So here actually we need to understand, no, like some people may say that no, I don't have any problem, I'm completely okay, why should I think of going to like no, like spiritual world, for example. I'm happy here, no, everything is okay here, why should I, right? So that is because that is just like the pig's happiness, no, because he doesn't know the higher truth, or no, he's unaware of the higher realities. You may think that this is all happiness. So we need to understand that. So this attachment to the body and family, is one of the very very strong forces, that binds the living entity in the material world. So there is one shloka in Bhagavad Gita which is actually telling this. It says, Shrotram chakshus sparshanam cha rasanam grannam adhishtaya manastayam vishayan uva sevade. What it means is that the living entity, thus taking another gross body, obtains a certain type of ear, eye, tongue, nose, and touch, or sense of touch, which are grouped about the mind. He thus enjoys a particular set of sense objects. So basically, it is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita also that what is it? Yandra Rudhani Maya, right? Ishwar Sarva Buddhanam Hrideshe Arjuna Tishtari, Brahmayan Sarva Buddhani Yandra Rudhani Maya. So what it's saying is that basically the Paramatma is there and the Jivatma is there, and no, Yandra Rudhani Maya. So basically Maya is giving the living entity a machine, right, which is having a set of sensors to enjoy a particular set of results, or results of karma, right. Basically every living entity acquires a lot of desires in his lifetime, and also lot of karmic reaction. So this combination will decide a next body for the living entity, and Maya Devi will give a suitable body which consisting of particular ear, tongue, etc., which is suitable to enjoy that kind of particular results which actually is supposed to. So this way, every living entity is completely attached to their particular body which they got, and then they're thinking that that is all in all, there's nothing beyond that. So this way, this is an unfortunate condition that we don't realize that we are in that. Okay, so I think we'll try to close soon. uh, yeah, so what we have to understand, how do we conclude actually, is that so we have to understand that this material world is not all in all, right? So first of all, we have to understand that I am not this body, I am soul. No, we are not this body or this machine, but that we are in, right? We keep getting different machines, but actually the real person is the Atma, which is soul, which is eternal, right? And we don't belong to this material world, right? We actually belong to the spiritual world. So in Bhagavad Gita, there are some glimpses, where it is mentioned, Krishna says that Abrahma Loga Punaravartana Arjuna, Mamu Betu to Kaundeya Punarjanmana Vidya. He's saying that once you come to me, then there is no Punarjanma. No, then actually he's saying that Nadat Bhashedo Suryo, Nashashango na Pavaga, Yad Gatva na Nivartande, Tadhama Paramamama, he says. So he's saying that there is another place actually, where there is no need of sun or moon. Nadat Bhashedo Suryo, Nashashango na Pavaga. There is no sun, moon, or wind. Right? Yad Gatva na Nivartande, Tadhama Paramamama. Once you reach that particular abode of mine, then actually then you will never come back to this material world. So we can see that topic maybe some other time. But there are a lot of information in the scriptures which actually says that there is a spiritual world, which is beyond this material world, which is beyond the control of the Maya. No, it's beyond the Maya's jurisdiction. There's a world actually which is under the control of um, another energy of the Lord, which is known as the Yoga Maya. So material world is under the control of Mahamaya, and spiritual world is under the control of Mahamaya. Sorry, material world is under the control of Mahamaya, and spiritual world is under the control of Yoga Maya. So the Yoga Maya, so this spiritual world, is like unlimited. The material world is only 1/3, and spiritual world is 2/3, and it is unlimited. So that actually is the place where the Supreme Lord, is actually situated. There are innumerable Vaikunthas, and of all the spiritual planet, the topmost is called as Goloka Vrindavan, where the original Krishna, the original source of all other incarnation, Supreme Lord, who is actually a cowherd boy, who is known as Sakshal Vrajendra Nandana. He is in the form of a small cowherd boy who actually is situated in this Goloka Vrindavan. He is the source of all other incarnations, right? So that is the ultimate destination of the Vaishnavas, who are following the parampara, which actually we are following. Okay, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that, like, so basically, though the Swargaloka is very, good and, opulence, ultimately it is much more beneficial if you want to go back to spiritual world. The Bharata Bhumi, right? This earthly planet actually is known as Karma Bhumi. So this is the only place actually we will accumulate karma, and also we can actually, there's a very high chance of going back in a very short period of time, right? In the earthly life is just 100 years, right? Or maximum 80, 70, like that. But in the for example, if you go to Swargaloka, like it is so many millions of years. So here in a small period of 100 years, if you are completely focused and take shelter of a spiritual master, then actually you have a very easy chance of going back to spiritual world. And also Chaitanya Mahaprabhu requesting that everybody who has taken birth in the Bharata Bhumi should help others also to get this knowledge, what we are having, right? Janma Sartakari Kara Parabhagar. Parabhagar means give the knowledge to others, right? Don't be selfish, give to others, right? Yeah. So yes, so we have to take shelter of the Krishna, Supreme Lord, right? And then actually by taking this shelter of Acharyas, actually, we can go back to spiritual world. And the process is very simple, just by chanting the holy names of Krishna, right? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, which is actually called Golokera Premadana Harinama Sankirtana. So this Hare Krishna Mahamantra is not any ordinary mantra. It is directly coming from Goloka. Now, Golokera Premadana Harinama Sankirtana. So just by chanting this holy name, transcendental vibration, which is coming from the topmost planet of Goloka, actually we can attain that planet, right? So it is like just like tuning to the radio station. So this is coming from the Goloka. If you are tuned to that, you can actually reach that planet also. So there's one shloka which I would like to conclude, where actually it is talking about how we should take shelter of Supreme Lord. In Lord Brahma's prayers in the 10th chapter in the Brahma Vimana Lila, actually this shloka comes. It says, Samsarita ye pada pallava plavam mahat padam punyesho murare bhavambudirvatsa padam param padam 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 yadvipadam natesham. What it says? It says, for those who have accepted the boat of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the shelter of the cosmic manifestation, and is famous as Murari, the enemy of Muradaman. The ocean of material world is like the water contained in the calf's footprint. The goal is Parampadam, Vaikunta, the place where there is no material miseries, not the place where there is danger every step. So the essence of this is that we always refer to the material existence like an ocean, because the ocean is very difficult, it's unsurmountable. Like nobody can swim and cross an ocean. So the ocean is very difficult to overcome. There are so many dangers, right? So actually, though the material existence is like a very, very vast ocean with so many dangers, one who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, who is known as Murari, Supreme Lord Krishna, then this particular, is lotus feet is like a boat which can cross this material ocean. And one who has taken such a shelter, this material ocean will appear like the hoofprint of the water which is contained in the hoofprint of a calf. The calf's hoofprint is a very small puddle, right? So we can easily jump. So though the material existence is extremely difficult to overcome, but actually if you take shelter of the Supreme Lord, who is actually the most merciful, right, then actually it becomes a very easy task to cross over, right? So with that, I think we'll end the session today. So sorry for taking some extra time. We'll wind up here. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So back to you, Sumit Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. So, devotees, any questions are there? You can ask directly to Ranshore Prabhu, or you can also write in the chat box.
Chetan Prabhu has a question about Soma juice. We can order, Prabhu, in Big Basket. We'll get so much. See, actually, I've read something, so I don't know much details about it. So somewhere in one of the lectures, I heard that no, it is a particular plant where actually, the number of leaves from the Amavasya to Purnami, like it adds one leaf like every day, something like that, a special plant, and whose juice actually, this plant is called a Soma plant, and this juice from this plant is known as Soma juice. But in this today's world, no, first of all, it is told that in Bhagavatam it is mentioned in Kali Yuga, no, it is forbidden to perform yagyas. So this was mostly done in the previous yugas, no? And many other things which were potent in the previous yugas is no more effective in this Kali Yuga. So I'm not sure. No, today we can prepare or manufacture the Soma juice, and by drinking we can go to heaven. I'm not sure, Prabhu. But essentially, it was done in the previous time, which we have to conduct elaborate yagyas, and as part of the yagyas, no, this is offered actually, and then no, end of that they will drink it as this thing. So by doing that, it is mentioned that all you will actually be cleansed of all the papa, and then and you can qualify to go back to go to higher planetary system. Chetan Babu, is that fine? Like, I don't have much information. This much only I have.
Yes, Prabhuji. And the second part question, Prabhuji, is that how Veda and this so much is related to pious activity. Like how Lord says that after exhausting of pious activities, studying of Vedas will become a pious activities. It is like that, Prabhuji.
So if it depends actually. See, if people study Vedas for different purpose. No, it depends on what you do actually after studying. So if you perform karmaganda activities, like which are mentioned, then you will be following the karmaganda. But if you're just reading Vedas and understand different philosophies, like trying to understand from a knowledge perspective, you go in the direction of a Gnani, then actually you will be following that path of Jnanakanda, Prabhu. Why three Veda? Why Krishna mentioned about the three Vedas and why not the fourth Veda? So the fourth Veda, this topic actually, I was also discussing with Prabhama Prabhu. So there are multiple reasons actually. See, in many places in Vedic scriptures, actually three Vedas are mentioned. So one of the reasons is actually the other Vedas. See, there is some different opinion about it. So one of the main thing is that for performing the yagyas, so other Veda is talking about miscellaneous topics. So if you want to, for example, the people who are performing yagyas, the Brahmanas, actually for them, all the information which is required for them is actually present in the first three Vedas, Rig, Sama, and Yajur, right? And other Veda is actually consisting of it consists of different parts, and some of the parts, even talk about the black magic and various other things. So many of the scriptures actually talk about only three Vedas, even though the fourth Veda is there. Uttam was the Mataji's question.
Thanks, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji, I only don't know that much about it. Any other question, devotees? That's all. Two questions, na, Prabhu. I can only see two questions in the chat.
Yes, Prabhu. One from Mataji directly got, and one from the devotees. One last question, if anybody have. Otherwise, we'll move on to the next announcements. I guess everything is clear, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you. Thank you all devotees.
So devotees, we love to thank Ranjot Prabhuji for giving us the class, wonderful class. So one important point which you mentioned is like, don't be a miser. Whatever devotional service which you have got, try to give to others also. So whatever knowledge we have, try to give to others so that they can also be getting benefit. And with this, I request all the devotees to please chant one time Hare Krishna Mahamantra for the spiritual benefit for Ranjot Prabhu. So request everyone to chant one thing. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
We can also chant for some senior Vaishnavas who are not well, like
Yes, Prabhuji.
and Solan Jayaprak Swami Maharaj and some others also. So we can also chant one.
Yes, Prabhuji. So as Prabhuji mentioned, so there are a lot of senior devotees and Guru Maharaj and a lot of is there. So on behalf of that, they are affected due to COVID. So let us chant one more time for Hare Krishna Mahamantra for their spiritual benefits, and they can recover quickly and so that they can get back to the devotional service. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Once again, very thank you, Rancho Prabhuji, for the wonderful class.
Thanks, thanks for all devotees and guidance from senior Vaishnavas.
Hare Krishna.
Pranam Prabhuji. Thank you.
So there are two announcements which I need to make. So this Friday, 28th of January, the Ekadasi is there, fasting till next day. And the breaking is the next day is at 6:46 a.m. to 10:37 a.m. And that name of the Ekadasi is Satsila. And one more is there, we have a Siksha program, which devotees who want to progress in their spiritual journey, so they need to attend this Siksha, write their forms, and they can contact the respective Bhakti Vriksha leaders, and they need to fill the form by latest by 20th February next month, and by 27th Feb we'll be having the Siksha ceremony. And yeah, that's Pranaseki Mataji. Any more announcement are there apart from this too? Yes, Sanatan Prabhu mentioned
Yeah, I think
Satyila
this two only.
Ekadasi.
I checked with only those two, Prabhu.
Okay, and this Ekadasi we are allowed to eat til, as Sanatan Prabhu mentioned. So devotees, you can make note on this. Yeah. So thank you, devotees, for joining, and we'll be again
Hare
meeting on the next Sunday for the wonderful different class for Bhagavat Gita where we left. So we'll be meeting again for the next Sunday. Hare Krishna, devotees.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Pranam.